The 2018 Sinquefield Cup was really fascinating because it was extremely competitive, but for different reasons than the 2017 Sinquefield Cup.
We were kept on the edge of our seat to the very, very last move of the last round. Up to that point, there was a lot of draws. We were getting antsy, Maurice. Where's our victory? You know, we're just spoiled. And we're used to seeing so many victories in the Sinquefield Cup, and there was just a lot of draws.
And a big point with that was Norway chess had happened earlier in the year as well. And there were a lot of draws there, and we were thinking, oh, the Sinquefield Cup is going to be the one to show you real fighting chess, because we're used to cantankerous fights happening, breaking out everywhere in this event. But it didn't happen.
No, it didn't.
There were nip and tuck affairs everywhere, not for want of trying, but the players were just too good at neutralizing each other.
Indeed. Trench warfare. When you think about the Karpovian way of winning a tournament, we all understand it's you get a few wins, no losses. No losses, very important to go undefeated. Well, it's very rare at the very highest levels that you have, say, 2 players going undefeated. 3 players, no, it just doesn't happen. In 2018, we had 6 players out of 10 who went undefeated. It was because 2 players were doing terribly at the bottom there. There was Sergei and there was Hikaru struggling. And then everybody else was just taking 1 victory and just holding on to it, and maybe 2 victories. And that's what made it so dramatic, the final round.
But you know, you talk about that because the topic of draws start coming up, and people brought it up to us. What are you going to do about all these draws?
Right.
How do you get the players to fight?
Well, it's a conflict, right? Because I'm so full of admiration for these great players in their ability to hold these difficult positions and to defeat these 2800s. Well, you see it's just getting harder and harder. So on the one hand, I really admire the fact that these guys just, they don't lose. They're just tough. They're tough as nails. And then on the other hand, but wait a minute, we want to see blood. We want to see those victories and those great attacks. And these guys are playing defensive combinations before you're even aware you had an attacking possibility. So that makes it tough. But hey, it's chess. It's chess. And the players are trying really, really hard, Maurice. And you can see it at the board, their expressions. And I tell you, I love the guy, Hikaru. He just wears his expressions, you know, openly. You know, he's suffering. Oh, no, it's good, it's good, it's good, it's good. But no, 2018 was a bad event for Hikaru. But it was the first time that we had 3 players tying for first.
Well, as we get to that, Magnus wins early and then subsequently draws a ton of games in a row.
Right.
Aronian wins early and subsequently draws a ton of games in a row. Fabi wins in the middle, rounds 4 and 6. He gets his wins and takes the lead. So
he holds on to.
He's +1 going into that. He's plus two. He's +1 on the field going into that final round.
Right.
He's got 2 points. He's got +2. Magnus has +1 going into the last round. Aronian has +1 going into the last round. And Mamajirov is at +1 going into the last round as well.
Right.
Who's going to catch Fabi?
Right.
And then we get the dramatic final round.
Well, it's not only who's going to catch Fabi. Well, maybe Fabi has got his destiny. He can deal with it right here, right now, and we could have yet again another clean winner for the Sinquefield Cup.
First repeat winner it would be, by the way.
Right, because nobody repeated up until that time. But no, he does draw, and he does give an opening, an opportunity for himself to be caught. Shaq doesn't do it, but Levon has to beat Sasha. And if he can do it, he wins or ties for first. And then the game that just kept us in the booth forever and ever was Magnus versus Hikaru, that rook ending. And it was like, I can't describe it any better than imagining a slow motion train wreck. You thought to yourself, no, they're not going to, Hikaru's not going to lose this game. I mean, it's a rook ending. And it's equal. He's worse, but he's going to draw it. And then slowly, you know, it's just like a water torture. move after move after move. Magnus keeps increasing the pressure. He wins a pawn. He's improving. He's improving. And then suddenly it's gone.
Typical Magnus style, by the way. At least
fantastic.
The Magnus we knew from years ago.
Right.
And given
at his best.
And given that he had not won super tournaments,
exactly,
and even struggling to win these super tournaments, this was a very big deal to him to win and to show that he could win yet again and prove to everybody that he is indeed the Magnus Carlsen that we know is a killer.
Well, and he exposed that himself at the closing ceremony where he spoke with great joy, beaming, happiness, boastful pride. Whew, I finally won a classical tournament. I've been struggling.
But before we get to that, they tie for first.
Right.
And
three-way
player. A three-way tie for first. They've all done it. They've all there.
Sweet.
And now we're expecting the tiebreak, except the tiebreak rules turn out to be not so good.
Kind of bad. Okay, 3 of the greatest chess players in the world tie for first. And now think of all the great tie-breaking schemes that you might come up with to draw the best of the best and let them show their strengths. No. What we're going to do instead is we're going to draw straws, and the short guy, he's out. And the 2 guys are going to play for the title. So one guy just gets eliminated just without any play at all.
By a flip of a coin, actually.
Indeed.
It was a coin flip that would decide a tiebreak with the best players on the planet, and Magnus screamed bloody murder.
Well, that's one whoops. The other whoops, and this was much more critical, was, of course, that the players were trying to get to London, qualifying for London. And one of the winners, Fabiano, has actually ended up on the Grand Chess Tour. He's tied with the exact number of points as Wesley So. So he's got to play a tiebreak to determine the 4th and final player to London. Okay. Now, on top of this, keep in mind that London, the World Chess Championship, is coming up. It's going to feature Fabiano and Magnus in that World Championship match, and they're going to be playing a tiebreaker. Well, hold your hats, everybody. This is going to be a great show, and we'll come back and we'll give you the tiebreaks and how it all going to work. No.
Now the players get into a big discussion. Fabi doesn't want to play 2 tiebreaks on the same day.
That's unfair.
Magnus says there's no way I'm going to be involved in any coin flip.
Right.
I'm tied for first, and I get knocked out for no reason. And the tournament arbiters have to come together. And the players basically...
They went on strike.
They took over. They took over the rules
and
said, this should not be like this. And the arbiter agrees. It gives them the option of agreeing to what should happen at the end, which is pretty remarkable that organizers would put the power in the hands of the players.
Right.
And they agree, let's just call it a tie. And we have 3 repeat winners all at once in the tournament.
You got the trophy and all the names on the trophy, that one person's name with 1 year, and then suddenly this is a big batch of 3. You know, it's really funny because at the time, we're all scratching our heads and we're wondering what's going to happen, what's going on. And then looking back on it, you know, it was really the right decision. And I'll tell you who else was really down with it was Rex Sinquefield. Rex thought that in a classical chess tournament, that's okay.
Well, it was quite the brouhaha, but it ended with 3 great champions finally repeating and another great chapter in the series that is the Sinquefield Cup.
Absolutely.